Hi, in this tutorial we're going to make a Happy Valentine's Day card similar to this one. So let's start with a new document. Come up to File, New, Blank File. We're going to make this a 5x7. I found that under Photo, Landscape 5x7. Click OK. Now I want to bring in a background. I'm going to use this background down here towards the bottom. It's called Wine Silk. Go ahead and drag that in. I want to bring some hearts down to the bottom, kind of a border across the bottom and the top. Go to the LearnDigitalScrapbooking.com website, go to the backgrounds page, and you can find this background and click on the thumbnail and it will automatically download to your computer. I already have it downloaded, of course, and I already have it open in Photoshop. I want to select just one row of these hearts. The way I'm going to do that is to select the white background first. Get the magic wand tool. Make sure that contiguous is not checked. If it is checked, it will not select any of these little areas of white in here. Click in the white part. Now all the white is selected. I want to invert that selection so all the hearts are selected. Come up under Select, Inverse, and there's the keyboard shortcut. Shift-Command-I or Shift-Control-I if you're on a PC. Now all the hearts are selected, but I only want the top row. So I'm going to come over here and select my rectangular marquee tool. Hold down the Option on a Mac or the Alt on a PC. There's a small minus sign that shows up in the bottom right corner of the cursor. That indicates that we're going to subtract from the selection. So now as we draw the marquee, it will subtract from the selection all of those hearts. And now we only have the top row of hearts selected. Get the Move tool. Click in the selection, and while holding down the mouse button, drag the selection up to the tab of our Valentine document. The Valentine document will open, and we can drag and drop the hearts into our document. Hit Command and the minus or Control and the minus if you're on a PC to zoom out a little bit. Come over to the corner squares. These are called handles. The cursor will turn into a double-headed diagonal arrow. Just click and drag to resize the hearts. Let's do the same thing over here. Drag this up to make them smaller. I want these to be fairly small, about that size right there. Click the check mark. Let's move it over to the side. Now I need to make them go all the way across. I can't just click and drag this because that will distort them. So what I need to do is copy that layer. So with that layer selected, hit Command J or Control J. That made a copy. Now I can get the Move tool, hold down the Shift, and just move that over. If you hold down the Shift, it'll just move straight across. It won't move up or down. So let's just move it kind of in position where we need it. Let's zoom in, Command and the plus sign or Control and the plus sign. Hold down the space bar and you get the hand, and we can just scroll up, and let's just use our arrow keys to toggle that over into place. And there we go. Okay, now we have a little bit of the heart from that first layer. You can see hanging out right there, and this heart's hanging out. Let's just get rid of that. Usually I would use a layer mask to hide those parts rather than delete them permanently, but in this case I won't want to get them back. So I'm going to go ahead and use the eraser tool and get rid of those parts permanently. Make sure you have this first layer selected and just erase that part away. Now I want to do the same thing with this second layer. Hit Command 0 to zoom back out, or Control 0 if you're on a PC. Hit Command J or Control J to copy that layer. Let's do the same thing. Get the Move tool, hold down your Shift, slide that over, and we just want to put that right over that last heart. Let's zoom back in, Command plus or Control plus. Hold down the space bar to get the hand. Let's make sure we're over it. Just use the arrow keys to see, yep, we're right about in the right spot. I like it right there. Get the eraser tool. Click on that middle layer, and we're just going to erase the parts of that middle layer that hang out. Okay, Command 0 or Control 0 to fit in the window. I want to combine all three of those into one layer. So I'm going to select the top layer, hold down Shift, select the bottom layer. Now I can press Command E or Control E, or you can come over here and just say Merge Layers. And there's your keyboard shortcut. Command E or Control E, Merge Layers. Now all those are in one layer. Get the Move tool, and you can move them around where you want them. I think I'm going to leave it right about there. Now I want to put those up across the top as well. So let's Command J or Control J to duplicate that. And I can move that up. Now I can move it anywhere I want, but if I hold down the Shift, it's going to constrain it to go straight up. Let's put it about right there. Okay. Now I want to bring in those hearts. Let's come over here to our graphics. The heart that I want to use is this one right here. Let's drag it in. Make it bigger. I'm going to make it quite a bit bigger. Something like that. And I want to rotate it. If you move your cursor up to the corner, it turns into a curved double-headed arrow. You can just click and drag to rotate that around. Click OK. Now I want to change that from red. I want to give it a style. So I'm going to come up here to Styles, and I'm using this style right here. This is the Wow Plastic White. Click on that, turns it into white. Now I want to put some red inside of that heart. So with the heart layer selected, I'm going to get the Magic Wand tool. Now I want to select the inside of the heart. If I click right here, because contiguous is not checked, it's going to select everything except this heart. I want to just select the inside, so I'm going to click on contiguous. And if I click right here, it's just selecting the inside of that heart. I want a new layer, so let's come up here, click on the new layer button, and I want to fill that with red. So hold down the Shift and the backspace, or Shift and delete, and you get the fill color dialog box. Click on the color, and it opens the color picker. And I want to click on a red. I'll get this red, but I want to make it a little bit darker. So let's just make it a little bit darker, come down, something like that. I like that. Click OK. And click OK. Now it's filled with that red color. Now I want to put a layer style on that. Let's deselect that. Command D or Control D will deselect. Let's come up under Layer. Layer style, style settings. Let's give it a glow, inner glow, something about like that. Click OK. I want to duplicate that. The easiest way to duplicate that is to put both of these layers in a group. Just hold down the Shift and click on both of these layers to select them. And click on this Create a Group icon. Now they're in a group. We'll call this Heart 1. Let's just duplicate that heart. Command J or Control J gives us another heart. Grab the Move tool. Let's move it over just a little bit. Let's about there. Let's rotate it. Something about like that. Click the check mark. Let's bring in that ribbon. Let's go back to our graphics. That ribbon is right here. Ribbon and bow. Let's bring that in. Now we need to make that a lot bigger. So let's just grab one of those handles and drag it out. Let's go ahead and distort it a little bit. Bring that out here. About like that. Okay, something like that. Now I don't want a green ribbon, I want it to be a red ribbon. We can change that to red by using an adjustment layer. Let's click that check mark. Let's go up here. This is the adjustment layer icon. Circle, it's half colored, half white. Click on that and choose Hue Saturation. I want to clip that to the ribbon layer because right now if you change that hue saturation, it changes everything. If I clip it to this ribbon layer, then it's only going to affect the ribbon. So let's go ahead and click that. You can do that by just clicking on this little icon down here. Or you can just hold down the Option or the Alt and move your cursor in between those two layers and you get the square with the arrow pointing down. Just click. Now it's clipped. The only thing that this adjustment layer will affect is the ribbon itself. Let's move this hue slider, see what we can do. We're not going to get a red at all, are we? Even if we move the lightness, that's not going to do it. Saturation's not going to do it. So we can get that red by hitting this colorize button. Hit the colorize button. Now we can get our red by moving the saturation and the hue and this lightness. See how the lightness changes that color? Let's make sure we get red and not that purple color. That's pretty red right there. Let's give it a little more saturation. Let's darken it just a little bit. I like that dark red ribbon. Okay, I like that. Okay, now I want that ribbon to go underneath these points of the heart. But I want the bow to be on top of the heart, and I want this end to be on top of the heart. I'm going to use a layer mask for that. So let's select the ribbon layer, bring down a layer mask. Now, the way layer masks work, whatever's black on the layer mask will hide whatever on this layer. So you can see this whole layer mask is white, means everything on that layer is showing, the whole ribbon showing. If I paint with black, I'm painting on the layer mask. See how the black comes on the layer mask? And it's hiding that ribbon. So I want to do that, but I want it to be a little more accurate than that. So let's just undo all of that. I want to make a selection of those hearts to control where we paint with our black on our layer mask. So let's open up these groups. Select this heart. You can select this heart by holding down the Command or the Control if you're on a PC and just click on that layer. And that selects that part of the heart. Now I can go back to the layer mask, make sure my paintbrush is selected, make sure I'm painting with black, and just paint right on that layer mask. And that selection will control where I'm painting, so it won't go outside of that heart. Now I can deselect. Command D or Control D will deselect that selection, and I can go ahead and just paint out this part. Let's do the same thing with the other heart. Just turn down this arrow to open up that group. Command click or Control click on that heart. Make sure the layer mask is selected. Paintbrush is selected. Painting with black. Just paint out that heart. Deselect, Command D or Control D, and paint the rest of that out. And there you go. Okay, let's bring in some type. Let's select our type tool. We want white. Let's click right here and type. Now our type layer came in right above our ribbon layer, and it's actually clipped to the ribbon layer. So we're not going to be able to see anything, because if it's clipped to the ribbon layer, the only place that's visible is where that ribbon is. So we need to unclip that. You can do that by holding down the Option or the Alt, moving your cursor right in between those two layers, and you get the square with the arrow pointing down. It's got a line through it. Click on that, and now it's not clipped anymore. But it unclipped our hue saturation too, and our hue saturation now is affecting everything. Let's pull this type up to the top. Select our hue saturation adjustment layer again. Hold down the Option and the Alt, and let's clip that back. There we go. Okay, let's click on our type layer. Let's grab our type tool. We want to break this type right here. Hit a return. Right after day, hit a return. Let's put a couple of spaces before the word day, and I want to rotate that. Let's hit the check mark. Hit Command T or Control T. That brings up the transform. Let's just grab this little dial and spin this around. Something about like that. Click the check mark. Let's move that down into position. I didn't spell it right, did I? That's what happens when you can't see what you're typing. Okay, there we go. Click the check mark. Let's move it down into position. Okay, I like that. Okay, on this other heart, you can put your names or whatever you want. I just put in another graphic. I used these two birds. Let's bring them over. Let's make them a little bigger. Let's rotate them just a little bit. Slide them into place. And I want them to be underneath this heart. So let's go ahead and pull them down. We'll just put them in with heart 1. Right there. Okay. And we're done. We used a lot of techniques in this project. We copied a portion of a different document and brought that part into our Valentine document. We copied several layers into one layer. We combined layers into a layer group and copied the group to duplicate it. We used the graphics panel to get our hearts and the ribbon. We selected the inside of the hearts and filled them with the color. We used a style on the hearts and an adjustment layer to change the color of the ribbon. We used a layer mask to make it look like the ribbon was going under the hearts. So thanks for joining me in this tutorial. I hope you learned something that can help you in your own art. If you learned something from this tutorial, please subscribe. There will be many more tutorials coming. Hope you all have a wonderful Valentine's Day, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Thanks. Bye.